Hi, what's up, Michelle? Today, I'm gonna give some of the updates of my CF champ. I was gonna talk about some really broken ancestral link mechanic where I was able to farm a very popular +1 projectile tattoo last night, but it got hotfixed, aka nerfed. So I figured there's not much point talking about it right now. But you can see in some of the footage up here, we're using knockback and really fast attack speed on tornado shot totems to basically stun all the enemies. I deal absolutely 0 DPS, but the enemies are just being stuck there while I take down all of their ancestral totems. But anyhow, don't copy this. Do know that this is already hotfixed. This strategy is not viable anymore. Anyways, let's get into some of the upgrades that I made to the CF champ. Having a lot of fun playing this character, and I've made some pretty good upgrades in terms of quality of life. This is a mapping build, so the DPS is not very good whatsoever, but it's absolutely really fast and tanky mapper. So what did I do? First of all, I'm going to be talking about some of the defense layers that I added onto the CF champ because I do want to keep leveling while not having to do non-elk red maps. First of all, I've implemented an ailment immunity because I figure what kills me most of the times are shock and ignite. So with this dual stormshroud, it gives the chance to avoid being shocked applied to all elemental elements. So now we only have to worry about chance of avoiding shock. And how do we do that? It's really easy. We actually just achieve it by 1 suffix and 1 eldritch implicit on the boots. So basically, you just spam Deafening Essence of Torment to get something that's useful. So and use either of those implicit until you roll a 41% chance of being shocked. Keep in mind, if unfortunately you got a 39% instead of 41, don't re-roll it. The weighting on this affix is actually pretty low. You can always just use a blast orb to change it from 39% to a 41% fairly easily. And with these two mods combined, you achieve 100% chance of avoid being shocked. And with the stormshroud, you get the full ailment immunity. It's very easy to do, and ailment immunity used to be pretty difficult to get, like with pretty great deal of investment. And with this, it's really easy. And plus, there's 13 lightning resistance, which is quite helpful. My build is always very resistance starving for some reason. And because of our main trigger skill, Stormbrand, which is different from a usual CF champ kinetic blast, and we need to be fairly close to the mobs, that made me feel like we need to be extra tanky. So I've also added the Iron Reflex, which gives all evasion rating applied to armor, and you have no evasion rating basically. And I figured before I pick up the Iron Reflex, I only have like, even with the flask, I only have like 5k or 6k ish of evasion, which translates into maybe like 30% ish. I figured that's not that big of a deal, and plus armor works so much better with the whole setup, which I'm going to explain in detail. So with Iron Reflex, we are at 56k without using any flask, and if I press my flask, we go up to almost 70k. On top of that, I actually just realized while making the video, most people are doing cast 1 damage taken with Molten Shell, and there are different preferences. Some people prefer cast 1 damage taken, and others will just put the Molten Shell on the left button. The on the left button setup allow us to level our Molten Shell up to level 21 or however much level that you wanted to get. In our case, we actually have a level 28 Molten Shell, which is pretty crazy, and that gives us an additional 1300 armor. So when I turn on the Molten Shell and use the armor flask all together, my armor goes to 76k, which is absolutely absurd. Now, the previous left button I have was the Enduring Cry, which gives us, it's pretty much like a mobile life flask. But after I think about it, I'd rather have Molten Shell on my left click and my Enduring Cry whenever I need it, because I can just activate Enduring Cry whenever I press my Corrupting Fever. So it goes like bop bop my life goes right back up and I get all the buffs. That's just really, really handy. So that saves up a lot of our life flask. In fact, maybe we won't even need our life flask, and then we can use it for something else. And why armor works better than evasion rating is because of our body armor. It says armor also applies to chaos damage taken from hits, right? That means we not only have a really substantial chaos resistance of 80, anything that hits us as in chaos is also being mitigated by our armor. And it doesn't stop there. We also have the Divine Flash. It says 50% of the elemental damage taken as chaos damage. So that 50% goes to, so that 50% instead of being mitigated by our 77-ish kind of elemental resistance, it's being mitigated by our 80% chaos resistance, and on top of that, it's being mitigated by our armor also. So that's what makes this character very tanky. I rarely die while farming out Expedition, and I didn't play that much. I'm level 95 right now. So yeah, that's our defensive system. Now, let's talk about the offense. What do we do to increase our DPS? So first of all, I believe this amulet is being talked about a lot already, and it's an amazing amulet for CF champion. First of all, we have the +3 level of all read gems. It could be any skill of choice as long as you can find it on the market. The most popular one is obviously Corrupting Fever, but that's like over 10 divines, and I don't feel like spending that kind of money. So I went for the Reap instead, which again helps me kill that boss a little bit faster. And Reap was only like 1 or 2 divines, so it was a no-brainer. Next, it also gives us 13% increased reservation efficiency of skills, and which is a big deal because we used to needing to take 3 points here in order to take this Mana Mastery. Now we've got that on the amulet, we save 3 points. And where do we spend those 3 points? I got an Impossible Escape at Elemental Overload because I really wanted to get the new tattoo of +1 level of all strength skills gems, and it can only be allocated on a big strength notable, which is really difficult to get in our tree because we're a left side oriented tree. Every big notables are intelligence and dexterity, and the only feasible way to get a big strength notable is through an Impossible Escape. An Impossible Escape to the Elemental Overload actually gives us a lot of really useful points. For instance, this enemies cursed by you have 50% reduced life regeneration rate, which is awesome because we are a dot build, and what dot build suffers very oftenly is let's say if you're Consecrated Ground, or if you're playing Expedition like me, some mobs like will recover a certain percentage of life through every 4 seconds or so, and with that regeneration it just takes so much longer to kill them. So with this 50% reduced life regeneration rate pairing with a Pantheon here, enemies you hit recently have 50% reduced life regeneration rate. That gives us 100% reduced life regeneration rate. That means it doesn't matter if your enemy's on Consecrated Ground or if they have like any source of regeneration, they can't regen, and it just helps us to kill them a little bit faster. On top of that, there are 2 small notables of damage overtime multi. They do help with the DPS quite a bit. I just don't have enough point to invest right now. I really wish if I can hit that big one, but apparently it doesn't work. Bummer. And on top of that, I got a Circle of Guilt, which gives me around like 14 to 17% more DPS. And do watch out, there are different mods on the Circle of Guilt. So the 2 mods that we are looking for is Herald of Purity has increased percentage buff effect, and increased physical damage while affected by Herald of Purity. There are other mods like Herald of Purity, reservation efficiency and stuff like that. We don't want that. So when you're buying this, be sure to check out all the mods. With this ring, you might be wondering, what about the curse on hit? I actually just got the curse on hit on the Corrupted Implicit of our Aseneth Gentle Touch. My friend was telling me that, you know, the curse priority will not work, but apparently I tested it and it definitely works. Temporal chain doesn't come out, no problem at all. So just buy a Corrupted Aseneth Gentle Touch with the cursed enemy with vulnerability on hit. You will be able to maintain your curses. And I think it's like really cheap right now because nobody really wants vulnerability on a ES base, usually a spellcasting glove. So that's pretty good. Now, aside from the numbers of the defense and the offense, the next thing is actually the biggest upgrade, and it took me a little bit of time to figure out what's going on, which is our Stormbrand. First of all, like I mentioned in the last video, we all know that Corrupting Fever can stack up to 10 stacks, and that's when we're dealing maximum DPS. And when you're mapping, when your DPS is not quite there yet, the stacking is very, very important. Let's say if you only have 1 stack or 2 stack, it doesn't deal all that much damage. So we're looking to stack up to as high as possible, as fast as possible. And Kinetic Blast has no problem doing that. If you're suffering with DPS, let's say if your build is just like still very early stage, I would recommend Bolt Lightning because it has a lot of hits in a very short period of time, right? And with Stormbrand, it activates every 0.5 seconds. That means we get 2 stack every second, and it requires 5 seconds to reach 10 stack. That's a very long time. How do we improve on that? And here's the answer: faster casting. It not only allows you to cast Stormbrand faster, which is a huge quality of life. Stormbrand also mentions increase and reductions to your cast speed also applies to the skill's activation frequency. That means the faster you can cast your Stormbrand, the more it's going to get activated. So with the faster casting, our activation's frequency is actually 0.32 seconds, and it doesn't stop there. Remember, we're a champion with Adrenaline. Adrenaline gives us a lot of cast speed, right? So once I prop my Adrenaline, actually goes to 0.28 seconds, which gives us around 3 stacks, of Corrupting Fever per second. And comparing to 2 stacks per second, you actually feel a substantial improvement when you're mapping. Next is this really, really cool support gem. I think this is fairly new, I'm not too sure. It's called Hex Bloom Support. And another thing that Stormbrand is suffering in comparison to the EK is its area of effect. Even before this Hex Bloom support, I was using chain. Chain support. So hoping that Stormbrand can chain off to a further mobs in order to spread our vulnerability curse, right? But while the chaining works fine, it's a little bit slow. Like the chaining effect itself takes a little bit of time. So I found this Hex Bloom support to be absolutely amazing. It says Hex from supported skills transfer to all enemies in the range of 30. So the Hex Bloom support doesn't actually interact with our Stormbrand, but it interacts with the vulnerability curse on our glove instead. That means when you lay down the Stormbrand, you curse the enemy, and when that enemy dies, the curse will expand to the enemy beside them. When an enemy dies, the Stormbrand gets detached, right? And then it can attach to the enemy next to them again. And when that enemy dies, the curse will expand to the enemy that's beside them. So you can see this interaction, like we can create a pretty good chain explosion. The more dense your mobs are, the better explosion you're gonna get. And speaking of the Stormbrand chaining onto the enemy beside them, that's why Impossible Escape to Elemental Overload is a really good choice, because there's this point of increased brand attachment range, 30%. So I haven't spec into this yet. I have to test and to see if it's actually worth it. Even with level 95, I don't have enough points right now, unless if I sacrifice my life or my damage somewhere else. We'll see about that. I'm still not very happy with the DPS right now. It's averaging about 4 mil without Reap, and the build guide that I follow, the end form is around 8 to 9 mil. So I have a long way to go because I still have a lot of shitty gems, and I haven't upgraded to Awaken gems yet. Those are those are the boring upgrades that I'm usually hesitant to put into because it doesn't change the mechanic. It's just straight up bigger number. So I usually don't really care about those upgrades. But I've been having a lot of fun with this character, so I'm probably gonna go for it. We'll see. So that's all of my build updates for today. I hope you enjoy and maybe learn something new. If I made some mistakes, please let me know because I'm not a pro player and I'm just sharing and learning with you guys. If you like my video, please like and subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time. Bye!